make sure that all done. Perfect. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. So we're joined today by award-winning entrepreneur and best-selling author Donna O'Toole, who we can see there. Donna is the founder of August Recognition, which is a top global awards agency. She's helped hundreds of businesses, brands, and leaders across the world to raise their profile by achieving valuable awards and recognition for their achievements. So we're in very safe hands today with Donna for this webinar on writing a winning award entry. So welcome, Donna. I will hand over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Pauline. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. It's lovely to be here with you. And I will just give you, just a quick overview. If we haven't met before, I haven't spoken to you before. So I run August Recognition. We're, as Pauline said, a global awards agency. We're part of the Dent Global Group, which is run by Daniel Priestley. You might have heard, he did a podcast recently with Stephen Bartlett on Diary of CEO. It's very good if you want to have a listen to it. We partner lots of awards organisations, and I judge lots of different awards, and I'm really proud to have judged the Learning Awards for so many years, I can't remember. So I can definitely give you lots of insights into what goes on behind the scenes with judging and what we're looking for as judges. So this presentation today is really more about your award entry, and I'll talk you through the process, and then to give you some tips for those entries as well. So first things first, it's really important to know the dates, what the timeline looks like for what you're getting involved in. So the entry deadline for the Learning Awards is the 29th of September, so lots of time, which is great news. Then finalists will be announced on the 17th of October. And then the next stage of the awards is a presentation stage. If you've not been in the process before, what this means is your entry will go in before the 29th of September. That will go through a shortlisting process. The entrants that are shortlisted will then be invited to a presentation, which is on Zoom. And we will go and do a webinar around the presentations nearer that time. So don't worry to know too much details about that now. All you need to know is that it's a good opportunity to bring your award entry to life. So anything that you're putting in there now, or anyone who's involved in the entry now, you really want to know that there's a presentation later if you get through to the final. And then the next stage, of course, after the presentations, is all the final judging will be done. And then the finals and ceremony on the 13th of February. It's always an absolutely amazing event in London, and it's just fabulous. It's such a positive night out, and great to bring your teams to and your clients and really celebrate what you've achieved to be there. So that's what your timeline looks like from now. You've got plenty of time to start thinking about how you're going to write your entry. And also to think about, if you've never entered awards before, or maybe this is the first award for your project, then think about, well, what difference could this really make? Why is it important? Because it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to write an award entry, to the point that, it's going to potentially get you to win. So why is it worth putting all that effort in? Well, awards really can make a difference, not just to a whole business and a whole brand, but to you as a department or as a team, to show really out to the external world, whether that's to your customers or to the rest of your employees or to your leaders, that what you're doing stands out. And this is a piece of research that was done a little while ago, and I love this because what they did was they took some wine, they put it in two different bottles. One had an award on it and one didn't, and it was the same wine. They asked people to taste the wine and to tell them which one they thought tasted better. And the winner was the one with the award on it. And that just shows you that perceptions with awards are real. They actually really impact on how we think about our business, on how we think about a team, on how we think about a project. If we think, well, you're award winning, then we're expecting there to be some really fantastic produce coming out of that. And that's what happened with the wine. So think about yourself like that. And what perceptions are you showing, either as a team or department or as a business, and whether you have got awards to show for what you've achieved or you haven't. And we find as well that there's a lot of great news for award winners in lots of different ways. We do research ourselves, but lots of big organizations do research around the world as well. And we've found that award winners actually gain around 63% increase in revenue following an award win. So that's for businesses, and this works really well for like learning and development suppliers and providers, for example, to really boost your profile and get your brand out there into the world. Award winners also get around 77% higher sales even 5 years after winning awards. So let's say you're a big brand and you want to be the most award-winning learning and development department or the most award-winning of your sector, that can make a real difference to your sales, but it also will make a difference to your employees. And in one piece of research, they showed that employees who were recognised by awards showed around 88% more motivation than employees who were recognised with a pay rise. So it's really interesting that, of course, everyone wants a pay rise. That's a great thing to have, but it doesn't actually take the same amount of effort and focus that an award does, an external award for your team. So if you want to motivate your team, you want to grow their morale, you want to prove that actually you believe in them and what they've been doing is brilliant, then getting an award for that project or for that team can make a real difference. So how are you going to approach your award entry? Well, the first step is you might already know what project you want to put forward. You've probably had a great project over the last year or so, but you really need to think about what's your USP around that. So what's the unique selling point? What's really making a difference? And how am I going to get that into an entry to stand out? Because these awards are competitive. They have got, I can tell you as a judge that it's often very, very, very difficult to choose a winner. And rarely do businesses win or not win by more than a couple of points because they're so good and they're also good in the final that there's not a lot in it. So you've got to think about what's your impact first of all. So this is a methodology or philosophy that comes from Aristotle's modes of persuasion, and modes of persuasion is basically about how to win an argument. So if you think about it, an award entry is an argument for you to win or for your project. So you need to bring together these three key elements. The first one is the logical impact. So where's the logic behind what you're doing, who you're doing it for, the commercial strategy, for example. And I know with learning and development projects, it's often really hard to measure impact, and it's often really hard to link back to the commercial attainment. Maybe there's something else that you can link to instead. But we want to know the logical side of the argument. We want to know who you're doing it for, why you're doing it, whatever it's a project or whether it's your whole business area. It might even be your whole business that you're putting forward. But paired with that, we need to see the emotional side of things. This is called pathos. So this is actually making a connection and engagement with the judges and getting them on board with the kind of things that they're really going to remember and really going to resonate with them. So bringing those two together, the logical argument and the emotional argument, will actually bring you to a point where you need to provide evidence for both. And that brings credibility to your entry, substantiates everything you're saying. Now, when you're providing evidence for more the values and the emotion side of things, you're looking at qualitative evidence. So that would be feedback, testimonials, case studies, stories, for example. Whereas on the logical side of impact, you'd be looking more at data and measurements. And that could be cost savings, that could be time savings, that could be reduction in attrition, that could be improvement in employee engagement scores. So there's all kinds of different things that you can use for impact on both sides, but you really need to bring all of those together to get to this sweet spot here of winning. And I would say that if you've entered the awards before and you haven't won, then perhaps look back at your past entries and think, well, did I include that? You know, it's not explicit in the in any awards criteria because every awards criteria is different, but this is from years and years and years of directing awards entries. As I can tell you that these are the three key elements. So I want you to remember what your awards USP is. Then you need to think about choosing a winning category. Now, I like to think about this with a bit of an analogy. So this is Usain Bolt here on the left, and then you've got Mo Farah on the right. Now, I'm sure you'll all agree they are both great runners. So if there was a best runner in the world competition, and these two were entering that competition, how would you know which one's going to have the better chance of winning? Would you be able to go on the speed, for example, of how fast they can run? So Usain Bolt's average running speed is 27 miles per hour, whereas Mo's average is 17 miles per hour. So would that help you to know who's going to be most likely to win in that award? I don't think it would, because what that doesn't tell you is over what distance. I'm sure some of you have already thought of this. So actually, Usain Bolt is the fastest man in the world up to 200 meters. And then after 200 meters, Mo takes over. So Usain is a sprinter and Mo is a marathon runner. So if they're entering a competition called the Best Runner in the World award, you know, you'd want to see Mo entering something for marathons and Usain entering something for sprints. What you wouldn't see is them entering in each other's category, okay? Because they understand what their strengths are, they understand the USP that they're bringing to that award, and they really focus on that. So that's why you see them staying very focused on their strengths, competing in the areas that they're brilliant at. So when you're looking at the categories, I want you to think about your strengths and how you can compete in those categories. And the great thing with the Learning Awards is there's lots of categories to choose from. The other thing that's really good is you don't have to enter just one category. So if you've got a really good program or really good platform or project over the last year, then what you can do is you can think, well, actually, how many different categories can I maximize the awards for this? Because when you've got a great project, it's great now. In a year's time, it's going to be old news. So think about maximizing that impact now. So for example, you might have, let's have a look, you might have a great learning platform, and you want to enter the innovation in learning platform, but actually the team behind it have really worked hard to apply that. So you might want to get some recognition for your team as well. Or then you might think, well, actually it fits really well into technologies because of the technology behind it. So think about how you can marry up different categories to really bring all of those strengths out and give you the best chance of winning awards this year. There's no numbers game in this. If you entered every category, you're not going to suddenly win more just because, you know, we say, oh, they were entered loads, let's give them loads of awards. It doesn't work like that. The judging is very much on each and every entry into each and every category compared to the rest of that category. So, so there's no numbers games in there, but I do think it's a good idea to maximize the success of your project while it's still current. And you can see some winning stories from last year. These are just a few examples of how people have done this. So we've got the Marston's who won the Learning Technologies Awards, and Nomura and Media Zoo who won Learning Solution of the Year. So you can see actually in this one, this is a partnership of businesses that have come together to enter. So this could work really well for you if you've worked with an external supplier, for example, to deliver on a project. These awards are super positive for businesses coming together to do that, because when you get the presentation stage later, we can meet you all as judges and we can find out how you work together on that project. So you know, don't be afraid to bring people in on the award with you. It's double, you know, double bubble on the recognition really for everybody there. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea, and you can see on the Learning Awards website the previous winners from last year, which will give you an idea, if you've never entered these awards before, the type of businesses that are going into it and the type of projects as well. The other thing that's really important is to use evidence to back up your claim. So as I said before, qualitative and quantitative evidence. Now, often as a judge, we see really broad spectrum statements. We don't get as much impact as we'd like, and it's difficult to pick out the evidence that really proves and substantiates the story. So I'll just give you an example here of what this looks like. So the first statement here says, our business is the best in the industry. We have created incredible results from our innovative initiatives, and our newest product has flown off the shelves. Now, that sounds lovely, but I, as a judge, would have absolutely no knowledge of how you are evidencing that, and I probably wouldn't be able to score you any points for it. However, if you had something like the below, our business now services 58% of the market, making us the industry leader. We've grown by 18% year on year, with new product sales creating 10% of our revenue in the last 12 months. Joe Blog says, and that could be your customer or your employee testimonial. You can see in there that we've combined evidence with the story. So we know how big what size your share of the market you've got. We know how much you're growing by. We know what your product sales are creating, etc., etc. And obviously this applies differently to everybody's projects, but it just shows you the difference when something is substantiated with evidence versus when it isn't. So I highly recommend that to you. Also, think about how you're presenting your evidence. So this is actually on the screen now. Some impact data from surveys that we do for our clients. So I can't share with you my customer surveys, but I can share with you ours. So this is where we would actually be surveying our clients to find out, what they think about us, what their feedback is, and what the impact has been through working with us to win awards. And this is how you could present evidence within an award entry. So up the top here, you can see we've got qualitative evidence. So we've got feedback from clients who say, we've asked them what kind of impact has winning awards made on your brand, and this is the kind of feedback they've given us. We got investment and finance opportunities. It helped us acquire new business, appeal to a wider pool of talent, etc., etc. So that's some qualitative evidence. We then have got data as well to back that up. So we've asked them to rate us on a star rating. Very happy that we got 5 stars. That's brilliant. Why did people choose us? So 75%, we give them options, and 75% of those said that was because of our reputation. We asked them, has it been worth it? Was your investment in awards worth it? And 100% have said yes. So that's a bit of data that I've got as evidence. And this is quite interesting, and we have lots of different impacts, but these are some of the impacts we asked about. So we asked what impact there was on their team morale since entering awards, and 83% said their team morale had increased. 67%, which is actually higher than average industry average, said their turnover had increased. So that's revenue if you're not in the UK, and 80% said brand awareness increased. So you can see that if I was entering an award now on what our business was doing for other businesses, I'd have data, I'd have qualitative and quantitative evidence to prove and back up what I was saying. So I really encourage you to deep dive into your business and your projects and see what you can prove. Also, the wonderful thing is you've got time. So because the deadline is not till the 29th of September, we, for example, with our clients, if they didn't have the data to prove it, we would be helping them work out how they're going to get the data, doing surveys and actually finding out that evidence so that they can substantiate it in the entry. So the next thing really is just some award entry writing tips. So these are going to sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how often they are missed. So the first one is be honest. Now, you're going to think, well, that's obvious, but actually it doesn't happen all the time in award entries. People who are judging your award entries are business leaders, they're people in the industry. They know that things do not always go to plan. They don't always go right. What started off as a strategy might have changed along the way. But we want to know about that because it helps us to understand the context of what you were dealing with. And sometimes it helps us to understand really the challenges you've had to overcome to get to where you are, and that can really strengthen your story. So if you've got challenges, talk about them. Don't be afraid to do that and bring us to the positive conclusion of how you overcame them. The next tip is to keep it simple. So again, if you are in an industry where you talk in jargon and in acronyms and you have lots of inside lingo going on, then don't expect the judges to understand that, okay? So I really think when you're putting your entry together, it should be written in a way that anyone could understand it from any industry. If you're very, very specific to your industry in the way that you write the entry, it's going to be more difficult for a panel of judges who are all from different industries to understand. So again, if you didn't win last year, maybe have a look back at your entry and think, well, was it obvious? Could my granny understand this? And if not, double check that. A good way to do that is to read it out to somebody else. I'll talk to you about editing in a moment. And the third thing is to choose facts over cliches. I will say that award entries are usually packed full of cliches and they don't score you any points. So if you're not sure of that, then again, look back at previous entries if you haven't won before. But to encourage you for this entry, just trying to not include cliches, try to keep it factual and tell the story of what's happened in the real world in plain English. So an example here, the top one says, in a paradigm shift, we bit the bullet and thought outside the box to synergize with our team, break down the silos and do more with less. The net result was win-win. which just sounds like you're going on The Apprentice to me. So I would say bin off anything that sounds like a cliche and put in anything that sounds factual and really helps the judges to understand. So as an alternative, we would say we improved both the customer and employee experience by training and developing a specialist customer service team. Within 12 months, this initiative resulted in outstanding customer and employee feedback and 20% growth in sales. So I've got some evidence in there. I've told the story. It's plain English. There's no cliches. So really think about what you're putting in your reward entry, because when we're reading things like cliches, it's boring. We go past it and you're not going to score points on it. Okay. And the quality of your award entry counts, and it's really important. So, you know, the easier the judges find to understand your story and to get to the bottom of what you've achieved, the easier they're going to find it to score you points. And I always say, even Shakespeare had a proofreader, did you know? So if it's good enough for him, it's definitely good enough for the rest of us to have a proofreader. Never submit your first written draft. And what I mean by that is, when you're getting the story out of your head and you're writing your entry, the first written draft is really just a kind of brain dump of all of that information. It's really then refining it and moving it around and thinking about the evidence that you've got in there and what works, what meets the criteria, what doesn't, and all the work that happens after that that really strengthens it. So, you know, if you're on the 28th of September bashing out a written draft that you're going to ping straight off into the awards platform, I would suggest maybe you haven't given yourself the best chance in the world. So do think about that when you're writing your draft. So my tip for that is to let it breathe before you edit it. So what that means is, if you're writing your entry yourself, then step away from it. Don't even look at it for a few days. Give yourself the time to then come back to it with fresh eyes and see what you can see then. You can also read it out aloud, because when you read aloud, where points on where you stumble can point to where you need to edit. And you could ask a friend to do the same. You could listen back to it. Actually, how does that sound? Do I feel like I've covered everything? And then you can use tools as well to help you. So, for example, you might even be writing an entry yourself, but English is not your first language and you've got to write in that. So things like Grammarly will help you, tools like that. I will say, if you're thinking of getting ChatGPT to write you an award entry, it's probably not going to hit the mark. So the judges will be aware of things like that, and we will need to obviously make sure that everything is truthful and factual in there. And there's a little box for you to tick about that, I think, in there. So you've really got to give yourself the strongest chance, and take it from someone who's doing awards all the time. It's not ready for that yet. So that kind of brings me to the end. I think I love this statement from Nelson Mandela, which was, either you win or you learn. And I think that's definitely something that happens when you enter these great awards, because you will either win or you'll learn something from actually putting your entry together and going through that process that you can take back into your team and take forward as well. So I hope you found that helpful. I obviously welcome any questions on the Learning Awards, on your entry, on the presentation, on the process, on any of that. So please don't be shy. Pop your messages in the chat or in the Q&A box, and we'd be really happy to answer those. While you're having a think, I have got a free download for you here. So if you've got a what's it called? a smartphone, and hover over the QR code now, and then you can download a free award entry checklist as well that will help you go through, and that's got more tips on there as well. So that will help you. If you need any support with your award entries, we can help you to do that. So please get in touch. Our email address is here. Lovely big balloons that I once grabbed at the Learning Awards. Having fun always. So it's hello@augustawards.com. You can also get a free copy of my book if you go onto our website, augustawards.com, and you can download a copy there, and that's got lots in it. A little interview with Pauline as well, I think, is in there, on all different awards and case studies, and how to win. What else have I got to show you? Oh, some social, do follow us on social to keep up with awards news. If you want to link up with me, I am best on LinkedIn, I would say, of all of those social channels. So I'll just put that QR code back up in case anyone hasn't managed to grab it yet. So there we go. Has anyone got any questions? How have I managed to answer everything?
Thank you, Donna. Just keeping an eye on the chat.
Thanks, Lindsay. Excellent. Okay.
you normally do a very good job of answering everything.
Blowing everyone's mind
Yeah.
before. Okay. You're very welcome. So I hope you found that helpful. Any tips on video additions to the entry? As supporting materials, you can include links to video, can't you, Pauline? Just checking
Yeah.
the platform. Yeah, so if you're including video for the judges to watch, clip it to exactly what you want them to watch. So don't give me an hour's video to watch and hope that I might find the bit that you were aiming for, because that's unlikely to happen, I would say. So, you know, for most judges, and actually in particular in these awards, there's so many entries that we're judging, we would want to, we don't have time to watch a huge amount of things. The other thing I would say is, yes, you can include a video testimonial, but don't forget, if you get through to the presentation stage, you will have the opportunity to bring all of this to life with video, with people attending, you know, whatever you want to do. So you can include it though if you want to. I don't think you can't include a link within the text, can you? It would need to be on the sporting materials.
Yeah, so there is an option to add supporting materials. It's up to, can't remember the exact size, but we limit it for the exact reason.
Yeah.
With so many entries, and as a judge, you can't sit and read all the entries plus all the supporting materials. But there is an option to add. Yeah, just be specific about exactly what it is in there.
And I always say with supporting materials, as a general comment, anything that's really important to your entry, that's going to really matter to your points, make sure it's in the entry, because things can get missed in the supporting materials, can be looked at quite quickly. So make sure it's really clear what you want the judges to know about and look at, so that it doesn't get missed.
Yeah, really good point. Thank you. So would you recommend written testimonials instead in the initial entry, and then we can do video if we get to the finalist stage?
Yeah, I think I'd probably go that way around. Obviously, it does depend on who it is, what your project is, and how long it is, and things like that. So just bear that in mind, because obviously you've got a limited word count as well. But I would say typically, you know, when you're judging something, you really need the most important things on the page. So yeah, I think you could do it that way.
Absolutely, thank you. I think then, if there's no more questions, then we will leave it there. Thank you so much, Donna. That was very useful, very insightful. And thank you for including, you've got, you know, if anyone does want to contact Donna, if anyone thinks of anything over the next couple of days, then yeah, Donna's email is there, and also connect with her on LinkedIn as well.
Brilliant. Yes, thank you very much. I look forward to meeting some of you at the event. Hopefully, maybe even judging your entries. So good luck to everyone. And thanks, Pauline. And I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.